Today we are talking about a major hidden reason why you don't recognize yourself anymore. I'm going to be honest with you. This is honestly one of my favorite well issues that I really like when clients approach me with this one. I find it extremely exciting. Now, I might sound a little bit psychotic, but hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. This often comes before a great self reinvention, and I find that really exciting. So let's talk about something that I really wanted to focus on today. And a major hidden reason, that one is very, very hidden. It's not something that most people are thinking about right away, but it's often hiding somewhere in the chart. And it's one of the first things I look out for whenever I am diagnosing this particular issue. So, welcome to the segment. I'm calling this, actually, I'm still figuring out a name for this segment. It's part of the astrological diagnosis series where I break down different emotional issues and chaotic life struggles that we go through and how we can explain them through astrology and personally through your own birth chart. The point is not to make this generic, it's literally me telling you things that I see with real clients, things that happen in the real birth chart, and raising awareness on that. And on that note, also letting you know that, if you're going through that issue, you don't have to go through that alone. That's why I'm here. So you could definitely book a session with me if that is something that you feel called to. All the links are down below. And going back to the topic of the day. So having a client come to me and be like, Stephanie, I don't know what's going on. I don't recognize myself anymore. Obviously, I don't start smiling and laughing. I don't think I would have any clients, to be honest, if I would do that right away. But I want you to understand that this is not random. Nothing in life is random. So nothing in life is random. I'm not. Let's just hold the microphone. This is how I'm comfortable. So the first thing I like looking for, I could be looking for a million things in a chart, but depending on how the current situation is being described, one thing that I like to see is what is happening with Neptune. First of all, do you have any, where is your natal Neptune located in your own personal chart? That's why I keep talking. And I know I get so annoying when I tell everyone you need to know your birth chart, and I sound like a broken record, but it's because astrology is not a one size fit all. It is very extremely highly personalized to every single person. The stars pretty much talking to you, and what we're doing in the sessions and what we're doing here in the podcast is decoding the messages that are directly sent to you, because again, we don't all have the same blueprint, we don't all have the same map. It's fascinating. It still fascinates me how it can be so widely different. So one thing I like to see is the relationship between Neptune and your sun. The sun is pretty much your identity in astrology, but Neptune is, people people are a little bit scared of Neptune. I like Neptune because I find Neptune to be a little bit, I don't want to say I just want to say Neptune is just, it's just a cool kid to me. Okay, it's Neptune is about spirituality, it's about the unseen. I like the unseen, and the reason why a lot of people feel really uncomfortable is because, again, it's the unseen. We cannot see this world with our five senses. Remember, here in the podcast I talk a lot about spirituality. I share a lot about different concept of Kabbalah, and again, even the astrology that I'm pretty much doing is Kabbalistic astrology. This is what in mainstream media, I would say in mainstream media, it's what we call evolutionary astrology. But honestly, it's pretty much like going down to the roots from like knowledge from like 5,000, around this type of range. So all this to say that nothing is random. Those celestial bodies are energy intelligences, and they pretty much affect every single one of us in different ways, and we're constantly moving through that cycle. So of course, if you come to me and tell me like, well, Stephanie, I don't know what's going on, I don't really, I don't understand. I just don't recognize myself anymore, and you feel like you are slowly transforming, and then you don't do the things that you usually do, and you're attracted to things that you're not usually attracted to. Often it could be like some kind of celestial bodies that is pretty much impacting you right now. It could be to a transit, and this is what I like Neptune, because Neptune, I get this quote unquote diagnosis, this quote unquote problem, because this is how clients tend to come up being like, there's a problem. I don't see any problem at all, but like it's a problem according to most people. And I get it. It's because it's coming to disrupt your life. And then often it's because we've been too caught up in the status quo. We've been too caught up on autopilot. We've been too caught up on in our comfort zone. And remember, we don't come here on this planet doing this life, in this reincarnation. You don't come here to just be comfortable and repeat the same thing over and over again. You come here, you and I, all of us, we come here to evolve, to learn, to grow. That's pretty much what the journey is all about. And all of these, the celestial bodies, the sky, and all of these events that we always have. For example, recently we had like, how many was it? I lost count. Like six planets in Aries, and that was pretty much unheard of. That was the first time that was happening. I forgot the range. Honestly, there's so much stuff happening in the sky lately that it's hard for me to remember right off the bat. Remember the range, but it's just it never happened in our lifetime. And all of these movements are being orchestrated for us. It's pretty much the playground for our own development, for our own becoming. And this is why I like to really assess where your Neptune is and what is going on. Do you have some, a particular transit, like some kind of like hard aspects, like an opposition to your sun, or, a square to your sun that is pretty much applying tension and making you be uncomfortable because it wants you to start thinking about spirituality and start thinking about the unseen, and start having a better connection and deeper relationship with this type of dimension, like spirituality, pretty much like surrendering, getting curious about exploring different belief system, different, pretty much spirituality. That's how I tend to see Neptune is, or realigning you with your path, realigning you with your purpose. Things like that are pretty much what we can see whenever you're going through that stage where you feel like you don't recognize yourself anymore. It's often Neptune is somewhere in the chart doing some playing tricks. Either, creating aspects with your sun, your ascendants, or other major hard aspects that are creating tension in your chart. And that's all that we look into. When I look into your chart, that's what I pretty much dive into. Because how you would feel that, it's a sort of drift, like a personality drift. You hear you're not there, and I hear a lot of emotional fog, and like you drifting. I remember myself feeling that way once I traveled to Bali a few years ago, and back then I didn't check if I had any major lines. I did an episode on astrocartography telling you how different places in the world carry different energy, and on our own birth chart we have certain energy centers around the world, right? Where we have lines that are passing through certain cities. So in Bali, I have a very strong Neptune line. So it's what that means is that there is a concentration of energy, of the Neptune planet. That concentration, blah, blah, we can't talk today. Concentration of energy in it's only 7 a.m., 6 a.m. It's not that early. But anyhow, there's a concentration of energy of Neptune, energy for me in Bali. And when I got there, I I just kept feeling like I was drifting. Like I couldn't, it's almost like you feel like you free falling, and you almost like you have a hard time grounding yourself. Everything feels very intense. Like you just, it's almost like you high the whole time. So this could be a feeling that you might be going through, that you might be experiencing if you have Neptune involved right now. And that's what we want to know, because depending on what's going on in your chart, then we would have different way of handling it, right? The whole point of doing all of these things, as usual, it's always awareness, because if you don't have awareness, you have zero chance of winning this, whatever fight you're going through. So that is why I'm doing all of these segments, and why we're raising so much awareness, because we only get empowered through consciousness, right? And this is the purpose of this episode. Again, if you feel like you drifting through life, you don't have to go through this alone. Okay, it's important to have your own support system. If you're looking for like any help and direction, you'd like someone to look into your chart with you and help guide you based on your chart, all my links are down below. On that note, my love, keep shining bright like a diamond. I will see you in the next one. Bye.